Addis came into the world quietly, no complications, no alarms, just one long cry and then a silence that made the midwife pause. In the private ward of a hospital in GIA, Enugu, Amarachi Nadezi held her newborn daughter close and wept, not from pain, but from overwhelming love. She had prayed for this child for 7 years. Visited every church. Swallowed every anointing oil. Done every fast. This girl, this tiny, soft bundle in her arms, was her miracle. "I'll call her Addis," Amarachi whispered, smiling at her husband, Chief Nadezi. The chief didn't smile back. His brows were drawn, his face dark. He was staring at the child's eyes. The baby's eyes were still adjusting to the light, but even in their fluttering, the redness was impossible to miss. Not the kind of red that comes from crying or irritation, this was something else. A deep, steady red, like glowing coal beneath clear water. The nurse swallowed hard and looked away. Back at home, the silence in the house was loud. The baby hardly cried. She ate well. She slept well. But something wasn't sitting right with anyone, not even the help. Then came the real blow. 3 days after the naming ceremony, Chief brought a prophet from Onitsha. A man with wide eyes and a booming voice. He came with drums, 3 assistants, and a bottle of what he claimed was anointing fire oil. After over 2 hours of prayers and chants, the prophet stood up and shouted, "This child is not ordinary. She was not sent from God. That eye, that red eye, it's a seal. She is a Noni Miri, a child from the water kingdom." Amarachi jumped to her feet. "God forbid. No. She is my child. She is not a spirit." "You prayed for years, didn't you?" the prophet asked. "But you did not ask who was listening when you prayed." "Some prayers were answered by dark powers." Chief said nothing. But his silence was worse than words. That night, Chief Nadezi sat at the dining table, holding a glass of whiskey. He had been silent for hours. Amarachi didn't eat. The child was asleep upstairs. "Amarachi," he said suddenly, "we need to end it." She looked up. "End what?" "The child," he said. "We'll do it clean. Quiet. I have people." Amarachi stared at him, unable to breathe. "You want to kill our daughter?" "She is not my daughter. She is not even human." "Didn't you hear the prophet?" "Chokuaju." Amarachi screamed. "You will not touch her. I carried her in my womb for 9 months. I begged God every day for her. She kicked in me. I gave birth to her. Then you're the one who opened the door to whatever this is. We'll close it. Tonight. No. Please." Amarachi was on her knees, crying now. "Please, I have a better idea." He glared at her. "I don't want to see her again, Amarachi. If I so much as hear her cry in this house again." "You won't," she said quickly. Just let me handle it. I'll make sure she disappears. You'll never see her again. Nobody will know. Please." That was how Amarachi found herself standing outside the old bungalow at the edge of Nsaka, in the early hours of the morning. Wrapped in a thin blanket, little Adi slept peacefully in her arms. The house belonged to Ebra, a woman who had once worked for her mother many years ago. Ebra was poor, childless, and kind-hearted. Amarachi had always remembered her. She didn't knock. She couldn't. She simply laid the baby down on a mat near the door, tucked a small gold bracelet in the wrap with the name Ladis engraved on it, and stepped away. Before she left, she whispered into her child's ear. "Forgive me. This is not because I don't love you, it's because I do." Then she ran. She didn't look back. Ebra's small bungalow stood quietly near the bushy outskirts of Nsaka, a humble home with a zinc roof and walls that held more prayers than possessions. The morning the baby came was like any other, at least at first. Ebra was sweeping the compound when she saw it, a small bundle by her front door, swaddled in a wrapper that looked too fine to be from anyone nearby. For a moment, she thought someone had left a door. She walked closer. It wasn't a door. It was a child. A baby girl, dark-skinned, chubby-cheeked, with thick lashes, and eyes shut tightly in sleep. Ebra gasped. "Chi-emo." She dropped her broom and knelt. "Who left a child here? In this cold? What kind of wickedness is this?" The baby stirred, her tiny hand twitching. Ebra reached out, heart racing, and gently lifted her. That's when she saw the gold bracelet tucked in the wrapper. It read, "Adis." A royal name. A name for daughters who are treasured. Ebra's eyes welled with tears. She carried the baby inside and laid her on her bed. She had no crib, no feeding bottles, no baby clothes, nothing. But from that first moment, Adis became her entire world. "God, you brought this child here for a reason," she whispered. "I don't know why, but I won't let her suffer." What Ebra didn't know yet was that Adis was not an ordinary child. In the weeks that followed, Ebra began to notice things, strange things. Adis hardly ever cried, except when strangers came to the house. One afternoon, a man selling herbs came to the gate. The moment his shadow touched the compound, Adis, just 3 months old, let out a scream that shook the walls. Not a baby cry, a deep, frantic wail, like someone being hurt. Ebra rushed out, confused. She shooed the man away. The moment he left, Adis stopped crying instantly. The same thing happened with a neighbor's cousin, a woman everyone greeted respectfully, but whom Adis wailed at until her face turned red. Ebra was embarrassed and confused. But months later, the same woman was caught trying to steal from her own family. The pattern continued. Anytime someone with evil intentions came near, Adis cried. Loud, restless cries, even if the person smiled and acted sweet. Ebra began to pay attention. As Adis grew, from baby to toddler, the reactions grew worse. By the time she turned 5, Adis had developed a habit of going still, quiet, and staring off into space when certain people came around. Sometimes she would mutter things like, "This man, he took something that didn't belong to him. This auntie, she hurt her sister. Why is he lying? He said sorry, but he doesn't mean it." Ebra would look at her, stunned. "How do you know that?" "I just know," Adis would say. But worse than that, sometimes she'd cry at night. Scream even. When Ebra ran in, the girl would say things like, "I saw him, bleeding. She will fall down and not get up again." It wasn't always clear who she was talking about. But days, sometimes even hours, later, exactly what she described would happen. A neighbor would collapse. A man would be beaten up. A child would break a leg from a fall. By the time Adis was 9, Ebra knew she couldn't ignore it anymore. She wasn't just gifted. She was seeing things, either people's past, or what was still to come. And it was taking a toll on her mind. One day, Ebra found her sitting on the floor, staring at her own reflection in the small mirror. "I want to pluck my eyes out," Adis said quietly. Ebra dropped the bowl of Gary in her hand. "Jesus! God forbid." Adis turned to her, tears filling those bright red eyes. "It's too much. I don't want to see anymore. I want to be normal." That was the day Ebra made a decision. With help from an old friend who was once a native healer, Ebra traveled with Adis to a secluded compound deep in the Orm Hills, a spiritual center said to be older than most of the churches in town. The man they met was not a flashy prophet. He wore no white. He didn't dance or shout. He simply looked into Adis' eyes, then turned to Ebra and said, "This child is not a curse. She is a gate. Her eyes, they open things. They show her what others cannot see. But it is too much for her small heart." Ebra wept. "Then help me. Please. I want her to live a normal life." The man handed her a box with a pair of dark black tinted glasses, crafted specially with leaves soaked in mountain oil, mixed with a stone that had been blessed over 7 moons. "When she wears these," he said, "she will not see anything beyond the physical. But tell her this, there will be days when the truth will still try to reach her, even through the dark." Adis wore the glasses that night for the first time. For the first time in years, she slept peacefully. No visions. No screams. Just sleep. Years passed. She grew into herself, quiet, reserved, intelligent. And undeniably beautiful. People often whispered when they saw her. Her red eyes, hidden behind the tinted glasses, became a curiosity. But it was her face, her calmness, her flawless skin and poise that caught people off guard. They called her strange. But they couldn't look away. Now at 13, Adis had become a teenager, soft-spoken, neat, and always respectful. She helped Ebra at home, was good in class, and never removed her glasses in public. But everything changed when she got into SS1, senior secondary school. That was the beginning of a new kind of battle. SS1 at Cedar Hill Secondary School was supposed to be a fresh start. Ebra had saved everything she could to send Adis to a better school. Not one of those run-down government places where the teachers didn't show up and the toilets were nightmares. This one had uniforms with tailored blazers, teachers that spoke too much English, and students who came to school in tinted cars with drivers. From the first day, Adis stood out. Not because she said much, she barely spoke above a whisper. But because of the glasses. Nobody else wore tinted black shades to school. Nobody else had skin that flawless. And nobody else looked at people like they were reading pages in a book no one else could see. "She thinks she's better than us," a girl hissed one morning. "She's hiding something," another whispered. By the second week, a rumor had started. "She has spiritual eyes. Her real eyes are red like blood. If she looks at you, you'll fall sick. Her mother is a witch." They say they found her on a doorstep. Adis ignored it all, like Ebre taught her. But even silence has its limit. Her name was Tochi, the girl who eventually snapped. She was loud, the SS1 it girl. Light-skinned, always chewing gum, with long nails and 2 ringlets of relaxed hair that fell over her forehead like a crown. Her father was some politician. Everyone danced around her. Except Adis. One afternoon, after class, Tochi stopped Adis near the tap. "Excuse me," she said, smacking. "Do you think you're better than me?"